So this happens all the time. A new client will come in after a car crash and hand me a bunch of photos showing the damage to their car. While this is helpful for their case, there are many other photos that could and should have been taken that would be as much, if not even more important for their claim. Today I'm going to talk about all the photographs that you should be taking after a car accident and, more importantly, why they're important for your injury claim. So let's get started. Welcome back. I'm Jim Curtis. I'm an injury lawyer here in the Sunshine State of Florida, and I help people recover physically and financially after an accident. Chances are you've all heard, whether it be somebody telling you to do this or maybe you saw some lawyer advertisement discussing it, that it's important to take photos of the damage to your car after an accident. And that's 100% true. But what a lot of lawyers don't tell you in those ads is that more often than not, there are other things that you should have taken photographs of besides just the damage to your own car that can be just as valuable, if not even more, for your case. So what photos should you take after a car crash? Well, I'm glad you asked, so let's discuss it. Number one, the most obvious one and the one we all know, take photos of the damage to your car. Yes, photos showing the damage to your car are extremely important, and they can be used in a number of different ways in your case. First off, photos of the damage to your car will show the severity of the impact to your car. Now, I'm not suggesting that there's any correlation between the amount of property damage and the severity of an injury, because I don't believe there is. In fact, statistics actually show that most neck injuries occur when the vehicles are traveling at 12 miles an hour or less, and most chronic neck pain cases are due to low-impact vehicle crashes. With that said, insurance companies believe, or at least they like to argue this in a lot of cases, that there is a direct correlation between property damage and the extent of an injury. So if you have significant damage to your car, photographs of that damage will go a long way with the insurance company in trying to resolve your injury case. Without them, you would just be relying on an estimate of the damage, which, even if high, doesn't pack the same sort of punch as a photo. Secondly, photographs of the damage to your car will show where the initial impact to your car took place, which can be very important. For example, if your accident took place in an intersection and the photos show the damage to your car near the rear of your vehicle, that would suggest that you were already established in the intersection when you were hit. This can be especially important in a comparative fault case where there's a dispute as to who may have run a stop sign or who may have had a green or red light. Lastly, photos of your car's damage are also very important in cases where it becomes necessary to hire experts like, let's say, an accident reconstructionist or a biomechanical engineer. These experts will use these types of photographs to reconstruct how the accident happened, or in the case of a biomechanical engineer, to explain how the force of the impact and the location of the impact on your vehicle caused or contributed to your specific injuries. Number two, photos of the damage to the other car. These photos are commonly overlooked, but are oftentimes the most important photographs to take, especially in the case of a low-impact collision. Let me explain. Insurance companies love low-impact collisions because your car will, more likely than not, have suffered little to no visible property damage. The insurance company will use the photographs of your car showing very minor damage to support paying you very little money by claiming that there was no way you could have been hurt in such a minor accident. They make this argument all the time. What I often see, though, is that the other car, the one that hit you, more often than not will have more damage to it. So to counter the insurance company's argument, being able to show the insurance company photos of the damage to the other car can be beneficial to your claim. But if you didn't take any photos of the other car, you'll have nothing to show the insurance company to prove them wrong. And good luck getting a copy of their photographs because they're never just going to hand them over. Photos of the other vehicles involved in the crash are also important in conducting any accident reconstruction or analysis of the biomechanical aspects of the crash. In other words, the forces involved, body movements, things of that nature to help prove causation for your injury. Number three, photos of the roadway in the area of the crash. Now, anybody can go back after a crash and look at the area where the crash occurred. But unless they get out there on the same day as the crash, they're not going to see exactly what the conditions were like at the time the crash occurred. Taking photographs of the roadway after a crash will show, for example, whether the road was wet and, if so, how wet was it? Was it just wet or was there standing water? These photos are also important because they'll show whether there were any conditions or hazards that may have contributed to the crash. Like maybe in the case of standing water, there could be an ongoing drainage problem with the road. Or maybe there's a large pothole or other deteriorated condition in the roadway. If you can show that these somehow caused or contributed to the crash, then you may have just identified another party who could be held responsible for the accident and ultimately for your injuries. Number 4, photos of the surrounding area. Again, anybody can go out after a crash and look at the scene and surrounding area. But in my experience, most people don't get out there right away and conditions do change, so it's best to document them right away. Photos of the surrounding area can be extremely important. And by surrounding area, I'm talking about taking photographs of any landscaping, any construction taking place, and any signage in the area. Photos like these can sometimes help identify other responsible parties. For example, if your accident took place at a corner intersection, maybe there were overgrown bushes or other shrubbery that might have impeded your vision or the vision of the other driver. When taking photos of the surrounding area, it's also important that you photograph all the buildings in the vicinity as well. In today's day and age, many buildings have surveillance cameras on them, and you can often get lucky and find one that captured your crash as it occurred, which can be gold if there's any dispute as to how the crash happened. So to sum this all up, if you're in a car accident, the more photographs you can take of everything around you, the better off you'll be when pursuing a claim for your injuries. And if you liked this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos for even more great tips and information.